So that's another thing I'll be watching for, this upcoming season too, is what kind of purpose do they not only have for what they're trying to achieve, but is everyone now on the same page? Because if I hear another time about CD and Dak, not being on the same page, or CD and Dak and Gallup not on the same page, like that shouldn't be happening going into year 8, for Dak Prescott and his receivers. They've had enough time to get all that ironed out, and I want to see that remain as consistent as possible this upcoming season for sure.
Kevin,
no doubt.
Wouldn't that be not even intentional, but a shot at Kellen Moore, right? Because when he keep discussing purpose, right? Sometimes you can't talk about how good your new woman is without talking about how bad your last woman was, right? It's not that you try to bring up the past, but could that be kind of what's going on with purpose and him singing that song on purpose?
Context matters.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I hope he's not taking the LeBron, passive aggressive route. Like, if you got something to say, just say it. Like, if you felt like there was an issue with, your purpose of your play calling, situational calls based on what you're trying to do to attack defenses, then that's something that you need to say so that everyone is clear about what your objective is here with this offense. And if that is the case, then I'm okay with that. And, to the point that was made earlier about, him going into year 4 of this 5-year deal, he has a chance to put his stamp and his imprint. And this, to Law's point, this is his first year of running things the way that he believes this team will be successful, and things not being forced upon him by having an offensive coordinator that he didn't choose. Now he's chosen his offensive coordinator. Yeah. He's got what he believes is his system that will make him and his team successful, and you got to let that play out based on what he's trying to do here.
And no doubt to that. And when we even go back to 2020 with Mike Nolan and all of those boys that was there, we still had some old ties to the Jason Garrett administration and Coach Rob Marinelli, because a lot of the players were resisting. They didn't want to buy into even what Mike Nolan was talking about. So yes, they had to do some wholesale changes, and it worked for us by bringing in a guy by the name of Dan Quinn, who we win 12 or more games every year. So I can see that we are growing. On top of that, it's a thin line between winning and losing. Think about this. The 2 games that we did lose last season to the Jacksonville Jaguars as well as the Green Bay Packers, we were up multiple touchdowns in those games. We win those 2 games. If we play with plan, purpose, and reasonings of why we do a certain thing, then we would be 14-3. Who knows what would have happened in the playoff? Maybe we could have went to the
Super Bowl.
Yeah. So
it would have been a softer schedule. It would have definitely been a
softer situation for us. So, hey, look, the opportunity is very thin here, and I love it. But Mike McCarthy, I believe he can see where this team can be at, and that's why he say those things. Remember this, write this down, people in the chat. Everyone have a reason, but results are what matter.
Yeah. And I think that's the hardest part when it comes to Kellen Moore Law. It's like when you look on the surface, everything looks good. Everything looks good to go. And so sometimes when we're trying to argue it, it's like the average fan who goes to ESPN or PSF and sorts the stats, but hey, we're top ranked here, top in scoring, right? But when you really roll up your sleeves and get down to the nooks and crannies of our offense, there was a lot of head scratching moments. Case in point, I just did a film breakdown on J-Ron Curse, and we remember the Christmas Eve. J-Ron Curse comes out and has a great interception over Quez Watkins. We shifted all the momentum, and then here comes a reverse pass with Dak Prescott and Turpin, and we take on this monster sack and we lose almost 15 to 20 yards. And so it's just like, why? And I feel like under Mike McCarthy, we won't have – now, there's going to be some head-scratching moments because it's just in Mike McCarthy's DNA, right? Yeah. I just feel like for the most part, we want to sit back every game and just ask why. The whole reason why they even sparked me coming up with the no identity video is because I was asking why. I was like, what is our offense? What are we actually doing? Because I couldn't understand it. So I feel like that's not going to be the case. I feel like things are going to be simplified with this text coast approach and really put our offensive players in the best ways to make ability and use their God-given ability and make plays on Sunday, which I'm excited about.
I love that point because one of the things that
Go ahead, Kevin.
Oh, go ahead. No, okay. No, that was one of the things that, as you were talking about that, it made me think about, because one of the things I asked Brian Broaddus this one time. I said, look, what did Kellen Moore ever define himself as what he was as a play caller here? And to my knowledge, he never really defined himself in what he was to his core, philosophically when it came to what he believed on offense. Like, he was a really good play caller, has some really nice, cute plays, that kind of thing. But I never knew what Kellen Moore's identity was as a play caller in terms of his philosophy. Never knew that. Never got a good answer to it. And I think, at least for Mike McCarthy, and you talked about the whole Tex Coast thing, at least I know what Mike McCarthy's bread and butter is, what he believes in offensively, what he believes into his core about what he wants to see from a play-to-play, from a schematic, standpoint, which is he's a West Coast offensive guy. So at least I have a foundation to work with. I felt like I never had that with Kellen Moore during his time here, even with how successful this offense was from a statistical standpoint. I never knew what he was to his core, and I think that bothered me most. At least now I know exactly what I need to know based on what he's trying to do and accomplish here, at least in that way.
Yeah, the only sidebar note I was going to mention is that I think that the thing that Kellen maybe got caught up in, and some of the fans, when we look at all of the 40 burgers and, touchdowns and big plays, we mistake growth for health. And I think that offensively speaking, it's a difference between putting up big numbers and being a healthy, fluid offense. And I think that Mike McCarthy, in my opinion, will lean toward the side of health. I mean, my ankle could be growing. That doesn't mean it's healthy, right? It could be swelling. So, at the end of the day, I think that the health of the offense in terms of being able to efficiently and effectively execute on key downs and control and close out games, that's what I think is going to be the huge difference. We actually might not be as good in terms of putting up as many numbers, in my opinion, this year. We may not put up as many points, but I think that as an offense, in terms of his philosophy, I think we'll be a lot healthier.
Agree.
Well, let me echo this right quick. It's not like we throwing out everything.
Right.
From Schottenheimer's point of view, he's saying that they're keeping 70%. Yeah. That's a lot of the offense that you organically is going to keep. You only changing 30%. So I get a lot of people every time in the chat, every time I post a video, they would say, well, do you give credit to Kellen Moore for that, for Dak Prescott positive stat? And two things can be true, right? So I just look at it like this. I just look at it like this. 70% is a lot, man. But 30%, hey, boss, they're not changing out everything. But I'm gonna tell you, 30% is a lot too.